My name is Richard Giles. I'm Senior Director at Pensions for Purpose, and in that role, I look after our community. I'm delighted today to be joined by our Chief Executive, Charlotte O'Leary. I wanted to kick off today with a comment on the state of responsible investing and sustainable investing. It seems to me there's two trends that are prevalent. The first is the backlash that we are seeing politically, particularly from the US, to things like DEI and ESG and climate transition. But also some of the problems in the world are escalating, whether they're social or the climate crisis. And I just wondered what your reflection was on that and what you see as the most important issues.
I think there are obviously a number of things that are concerning in the world at the moment, and we have those conversations on a day-to-day basis across our membership. So it wouldn't be right to say that these things aren't concerning, but I do think it's brilliant that, for instance, from our perspective, we've retained, our membership despite some of those conversations, discussions, issues around sustainability. But what we're talking about is a sort of an anti-ESG, anti-sustainability agenda. And when you think about what those acronyms and what those words mean, we are talking about how we live sustainably in the world. It does seem ridiculous in a way to think that there's something wrong in trying to pursue that. But we also have to be mindful of political tensions and what businesses and investors are facing. So we have to adapt to that challenge. We have to be and help them to be resilient. And I think most importantly, what we've focused on with things like our impact lens research, or we're going to get on to some of our ecosystem theme work, is pragmatically, what do investors need to do? What do they need to keep sight of? And the reality is that most asset owners are sticking to their commitments around sustainability, around to their net zero commitments, and to areas around ESG and DEI. They may be framing that differently, and people may be using different language, but I think we all understand that the fundamentals make sense. And it's a bit like Pandora's box. Once you've opened it, you can't very well put it all back in. The cat's out of the bag. We know that there are issues with climate change. We know there are issues around biodiversity loss. We know there are issues in the way that we produce food and in people's health, and so you can't pretend all of a sudden that doesn't exist. We have to act on that. So I think it's about being pragmatic in the face of a lot of political tensions and sticking to what your investment beliefs are and seeing that through. So and this, actually dovetails quite nicely, doesn't it? Because we are looking at putting together a pilot group on our ecosystem theme around systems and governance change, which ties nicely to what we've just talked about. How does, for you, this work sit within our strategy? And why does it feel like the right time to explore it, do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question, Charlotte. I think over the last 18 months, we've had an increasing awareness across our membership and more discussions with our members around the root cause of some of these issues, and more discussion around system change and governance being at the root cause of some of these problems that are emerging. So I think it is the right time for us to grasp the nettle on that and start to ask the question why, despite the best intentions of many people in the industry, are we not making progress as quickly as we'd like to make? And what are the most powerful levers that we can adopt to accelerate that change? So that's what the pilot group is for. We're very keen to collaborate across the industry, across all parts of the investment chain. So the pilot session will be with stakeholders from across the investment chain and academics. But a kind of request out to all of our members would be, we want as many members to get involved in this work as possible. And if you would like to get involved, please get in touch, because collaboration is it's one of the most important things to make this change happen. So Yeah, watch this space, but we're very excited to be launching this. If I just turn that back to you, another thing that we are excited to be progressing with is working with insurance companies. And I know we're looking to do a research piece later in the year. What's the thinking behind Pensions for Purpose starting to get more involved with insurance companies?
What's interesting about looking at impact and having that goal of wanting to get more capital into investments that have a positive impact on people and planet is you fast realize that it's an ecosystem of different types of diverse stakeholders, and that if you want pension funds to shift their behavior and to start to invest and understand how to invest in these things, they can't operate alone. They are part of an ecosystem of other investors, whether that's endowments and foundations and private family offices, um, but also insurers. Insurers are a massive part of this market. And it's important that if we want pension funds and other investors to invest with impact, we need to be looking at insurers as well. Insurers also own a significant proportion of the advisors that are advising pension funds. They are also the buyout insurers that pension funds, DB pension schemes will sell on to. So, they're a significant part of the ecosystem on lots of different levels, but there's also something really interesting about insurers. Um, you know, the investments that they make are obviously important, and what we're focusing on in terms of sustainability and impact and how we integrate that into what they're doing. But they're also constrained in the same way that pension funds are constrained by legal provisions and regulatory flaws such as Solvency II. And so there is education and work to do around what sustainability and impact looks like within that context. And I think that we have that experience, that expertise, having worked with pension funds, to know how to approach it for insurers, and we can use a lot of that knowledge that we've built. But there's still a lot for us to work on and understand from insurers. So it's really, really exciting. Ultimately, I think everyone needs to start diversifying their base of clients and members, but also it's just good business practice to reach out to a wide section of stakeholders and understand what's going on in the marketplace, because through doing that, I think you can scale work on sustainability and impact. The sort of key question then is, how can members get involved in that? So I'm sure a lot of people will be really interested in the work we're doing on insurers.
Yeah, well, the first thing is the research project, which we are going to start in May. So if you're an insurance company and would like to take part in that research, then please reach out. It's a light touch from an insurance perspective, a 30-minute conversation with us. If you're an asset manager or an advisor and want to understand, that research will be public. So in September, we'll be publishing the research, and then we will be doing a series of events which will be open to all of our membership. So there'll be opportunity to get involved further down the road. But yeah, key milestones: May for the start of the research and September for publishing it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And the thing that I would leave everybody with is that, at Pensions for Purpose, we look to always be a safe space for people to be able to share their views. I know there is a lot going on in the world that makes people very nervous, feel quite uncomfortable, unsafe. But we always seek to make our groups, our events inclusive and open. So please do join us.